Today we're going to take our drawings and our brainstorming to the next step. So we've already created our backgrounds. We did that last time. And we also have our brainstorming list that we did in class. And I ask you to make sketches, at least 2 items from each category that we brainstormed, and that's just a place to start, so we can add images as we go. So a couple of things to remember: everything in our drawing is about me, and even though it's going to end up to be a pen and ink drawing like this one, we are not starting with pen and ink, we're starting with pencil. Okay? So one of the ways that I can start, keeping in mind my brainstorming, is I can look at my watercolor background and decide, do I want to have my paper vertical or portrait, or do I want to have it landscape or horizontal? I might also find some images in the watercolor paint, how the paint went on the paper as I go. So I'm going to start with some of my food options. Okay, we talked about snack foods, we talked about desserts, and so yes, we could transfer our images, but we don't want it to look like our drawing to look like objects all lined up in a row like on a display shelf. So it's better if I pick some images that I like. And I'm going to start with the ice cream cone. And I kind of see the top of the ice cream cone here, so I'm going to start with that first. And using my pencil, I'm going to draw the top of the ice cream cone. Now in my sketch, I have a double scoop cone, but here I'm going to make a single scoop cone. And I'm not going to put a lot of detail right now. So if we think about ice cream cones, for example, we might think about even sugar cones have some kind of detail. They're symmetrical, that is, whatever happens on the left happens on the right. And then it tapers down to the base. And if you're really lucky, or if you have a friend dishing up the ice cream, then you might get a really big ice cream on top, and sometimes we might have a cherry or something on top as well. If we have sauce, chocolate sauce or strawberry sauce or butterscotch running over the top, it's going to come out a lot beyond that. So a lot of times the ice cream cone has texture. I have some texture things in my drawing, in my sketch, but I'm not going to put those here right now. Okay. Another thing I have on my brainstorming things were ways to exercise. Okay. Well, if I look at my watercolor here, I kind of see a little bit of a figure. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to make kind of a generic figure, but we also have the Olympics coming up. Hopefully this summer they won't be canceled or postponed again. So I'm going to use the watercolor. And again, it's not super precise and super detailed. If I'm thinking about the Olympics, a lot of times the athletes, especially in gymnastics or dancing, have ribbons or hoops or something, so I might come back and add a hoop. So for right now, it's just going to be the little figure. Travel was one. I also have swimming. So let's see if where might I add a swimmer? I think I'm going to add a swimmer right here. So here's an arm kind of coming up. Okay, and so I don't want my drawings to have tons of detail, but if you look at my sketch, you'll notice that they're not just sort of scribbled and put together. So I sort of have a figure here, and we're making our pencil lines light to start with. And that way we can make changes. We want to think about how our body goes as we swim. And I'm not liking those legs very much, so I might change that. That looks a little awkward, okay? But that's enough to get us started, okay? Let's see. We talked about hobbies and things we do and for fun, and I have a paintbrush. So I don't just want an images lined up in a row. I want to have more of a collage approach. So some images or objects might touch the edge of the paper, and I'm looking at my paintbrush here. And so I can also overlap. So I'm going to have the paintbrush overlap my ice cream cone. Maybe it's going to end up painting the sauce on top. Okay? And so as I'm working around my drawing, I had a lot of food items, you'll notice. So I'm not going to use them all, so I really like the donut. So maybe I will put the donut, here's kind of a hole. Maybe I'm going to put the donut right about here. So you might see shapes in your watercolor that go with or will accent your ideas and your objects. And so if you notice that, then you can use those features of your painting, your watercolor background, to help you. I need to change that up a little bit. Okay, and I don't have a good eraser, so I'll take that out later. Okay? All right, so I've used this one and I used this one. I had strawberries. So as we're filling our paper, our composition, we might turn our paper so we're making our objects, or presenting our objects from different views. Sometimes strawberries have the little hat with the stem on the top, so you might include that. I'm not going to put the seeds on right now, but that will be a part of the important detail. So I might choose to work around my drawing. So I go around and around and around, okay? I do want to overlap images. And what is most important, though, is everything relates to yourself, okay? Travel is important to my family and myself, so I have an airplane here. So I'm going to go ahead and put the airplane in. And when I was in college, I was an exchange student. You'll notice I left a little space here because that's where the wing's going to go, and I didn't want to erase that. And I'll have another wing here. So what's more important than that everything is in the correct proportion is that you've given yourself a space to start and that you can develop your idea. So now I've added 2 jet engines, and I will have to have one engine here. Maybe the other engine's going to be under my dancer, but we need to see the cockpit, the door of the plane. And in my sketch, I have the windows, but I'm going to leave the windows off right now. So I don't want to put that detail in because I don't want to mess it up and change my mind. Well, whether I travel in a car or travel by a plane or travel on a bus, I need a suitcase, something to put my stuff in. And for those of you that travel, it's way much easier to travel with a suitcase that has wheels on it, especially if you're on the plane. And we want to try to make our images 3D if they would be 3D. So I want to remember to do that if I can. Now, the suitcase was not on my original brainstorming, but it goes with my idea of traveling. I have the Eiffel Tower here. I have been there. So that's another object that goes with traveling, things I like to do or have done. So remember that the brainstorming was a way to get us started. And you'll notice I'm drawing the front side of the Eiffel Tower first. And I'm kind of simplifying it. And it's going to overlap my strawberries. Okay, so sometimes when we're drawing, our objects need to get a little bit more simple so that they work together in our composition, and the rest of the Eiffel Tower is going to be behind the strawberries, and I want to try to make that 3D. So it's really important to remember that the brainstorming was a place to get started. Okay, so we started with our 10 sketches. Okay, all right, so now I still have some empty space here. This corner is empty, this corner is empty, this corner is empty, and I have some space up here. Now, I don't have to have it wall to wall like interlocking puzzle pieces, but I probably have space for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5 more objects or 5 more ideas from my brainstorming page. So they could relate to any of those topics that I did or wrote about that we brainstormed, okay? Maybe you're going to think of something that isn't a part of your brainstorming, but that you decide is important. Sometimes in class we don't think of everything. Then you can go ahead and add that. So for next time, I want you to have 2 things. You're going to submit your sketch pages. If you have more than 1 sketch, you're going to take pictures of both sketch pages, whatever you have, at least 10 images. And then by Saturday, you need to have your images onto your background. Okay? Anything that has to do with you. You'll notice the donut here is not shaded. The donut here is shaded. This is my idea page. So just for Saturday, we're just getting this far. Okay? Everything has to be about you. And 2 things you're going to turn in. Your photograph of your sketches and then your finished drawing with your images on it. In pencil, on your watercolor background.